Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day today. My name is Dean Powers, and I am the host of Quest for the West podcast. Now, I've created this so that we can cover a few things more in depth. Now, I have high respect for a lot of the other creators who do commentary on politics and geopolitical events, but so many things are happening that they kind of speed through things a little bit. And with me, I just want to take a breather, cover a couple stories that are the highlights of the week, and just go over in depth and so that we can all understand together of what's truly going on and what is happening in our nation because a lot of things are going on that are just that we're not seeing all the time and it's so much information. I get that. It is crazy out there. But what I wanted to cover was, do you remember when the United States used to be very respectful with each other? I mean, across party lines, Republicans, Democrats, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. You know what I mean? We used to make jokes about each other, right? We used to be like, ha ha ha, you believe this? That is so cute. That's so funny. And it was nothing more than just a joke. We used to joke with each other. But when it came down to any serious issues and topics, we used to work together. And now, Democrats and Republicans cannot seem to work together at all. And that's not what this country should be. In my opinion, and I know there's many truths to this, and I know there's a lot of different avenues that, you know, with what happened with our country, how it's kind of gone to hell. There's a lot of different ways it happened, but one of the main ways that it happened is we let other countries in and worked on our ego and our compassion. Now, you see, evil comes with compassion, and that's how it infiltrates. It's not going to come looking big and scary. If it did, we wouldn't let it in. But it comes in compassion, and it's kind of sick. I mean, it's really sick. So, with that being said, I just want you to have your mind at ease with what I'm about to say. And the thing is, it's bothering everyone. I don't care who you are, everyone I talk to, this is bothering everyone. And one of the events I want to talk about from this week is the six Senate Democrat lawmakers in DC who made that video last week about refusing illegal orders. Now, I've been taking notes about this all week, but the thing is, I've been trying to wait for new info to come out, but this far, no new info is coming out, so I'm just going to tell you what I have so far. And if there's any new info, let me know. I like to know everything that's going on, but so far, this is all that we know. Democratic lawmakers who appeared in a social media video urging U.S. troops to defy illegal orders say the FBI has contacted them. Yep, so the FBI contacted them, began scheduling interviews, signaling a possible inquiry into the matter, right? So, this is a big problem because the Senate Democrats are not outright saying refuse the president's orders. They're not outright refusing it. They're tiptoeing around it. They're saying they are saying refuse illegal orders, right? It's very cheeky. I see what they're doing because it's not clarifying what the illegal orders are. It's not. But it's saying to the troops, you you must defy illegal orders, and that our president is basically not a good president. But you know what? They get away with it because now I don't know if they're gonna get away with it, much longer. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, the FBI is looking into them. But I see what they did there and how Democrats have always gotten away with things. They didn't say outright anything. They just say defy illegal orders, right? But if you're not saying what orders those are, it's kind of hard to pinpoint some things. So they do that because they're cheeky little devils, basically. And I'm going to tell you the names of the Senate Democrats so that you all know who they are. Now, the media, they breeze through the names very quickly, and people don't know who these people are. No one knows who these Senate Democrats are. And if you do, you might know a couple names. But I'm going to list all six right here. So we got Senator Mark Kelly, Senator Alyssa Slotkin, Representative Jason Crow, Representative Maggie Goodlander, Representative Chrissy Holohan. Hopefully I said that right. Representative Chris DeLugio. Donald Trump made a post about this actually. He made a post on Truth Social saying that seditious behavior punishable by death. Yes, because that is seditious behavior. Now, do I agree with punishable by death? We can get into that a little bit later. But actually, no, I do not agree with that. They should just be imprisoned, if anything, if the FBI can find anything on them, that is. But the president was clearly very upset, and rightfully so. Then he made another post on Truth Social. This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up. And this is from the President of the United States. I agree they should be locked up. Death, I don't know. I don't think so. The thing is, we cannot go back into being that barbaric. The only time we can is if we're defending our homes, right? But the thing is, we can also defend our home by metaphorically kicking them behind their knees, right? Lock them up. You can also protect your home that way. But yeah, and the senators, Alyssa Slotkin came out with a video on Tuesday, and she basically said that the FBI's counterterrorism unit notified the lawmakers on Monday night that they are opening what appears to be an inquiry against the six of us. Now, that's interesting. The counterterrorism unit of the FBI is investigating them. And maybe next week we'll find out a little bit more details on what's going on. I am very curious to know what's going on. Now, personally, I do not know a lot about the Senate Democrats. I can't stand them, truthfully. But I am curious to see what will transpire out of this. Now, I don't know what will fully happen. I think the best thing that would happen, if anything, is that they would be escorted out of their offices in handcuffs, right? And it might be a long trial, you know what I mean? But if worse comes to worse and they find some illegal shit going on, anything beyond the video, because the video I don't think was illegal, but it's suspicious. And when you are suspicious, you're going to be investigated into to see if there's anything truly legal going on. And would I be surprised if there was? No. Would I be surprised if they weren't doing anything illegal? I'd actually be more surprised if they weren't, in my opinion, but that's just an opinion, that's not a fact. Another thing I want to make clear on here going forward with these podcasts is that I can have opinions, I can have my own thoughts outside of what other people say, but they're not factual, right? Opinions help us to think about what's going on and piece things together. I like to think of an opinion as a piece of a broken mirror. It's not the whole mirror, but it's a piece of it. But you don't know where that piece goes, and you don't know where it fits truly. But it's a piece of the mirror, right? And it's not the truth, because the whole truth is the whole mirror. That's how I always thought about it. But anyway, yeah, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with these six Democratic lawmakers, these senators. Um, yes. So that's all the information that we have on that in regards to the seditious six that they're being coined. Seditious six. Would it honestly, if it would, if you take what happened last week, that video, like if you just take that away, don't think about it, like that name Seditious Six sounds like a cool band almost, you know? But yeah, the media, I have to say one good thing about the media. They always come up with clever nicknames. I do have to say that. Like they really do. Now, in other news, I'm going to be talking about the two National Guardsmen that were shot 2 blocks away from the White House, mind you, in DC. So, this is a very tragic story, and I'm not surprised. Now, when the story first broke that the two were attacked in DC, I was thinking, watch, this is either going to be some domestic terrorism or foreign terrorism. But regardless, this is not a person that loves our country. That's what I thought. And that was an opinion that turned out part of it was true. It was a foreign agitator who came here under the Biden administration, right? So the Biden administration, they had this operation called Operation Allies in 2021 in Afghanistan, where Operation Allies, they were taking people from Afghanistan, right, that worked for the United States, right? So this man, I cannot pronounce his name, but the attacker, he worked for the United States, the CIA, in Afghanistan. And I don't know how good the relationship was, because like I said, it was under the Biden administration, but he did work for the United States. And then he came, and then we brought him back over here, right? And it's just despicable because we don't have any information to know if he was truly vetted or not. And if we do have that information, maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but I cannot find that info anywhere. And and I found out that the Biden administration under that operation most likely didn't vet other Afghans and just brought them over, right? But the thing is, I don't care who you are. If you are working for the United States, you would think you wouldn't be a traitor, right? But no, that's what Islam is. They teach you to lie by any means necessary for the sake of Islam. That's what they teach actually. And it's disgusting. And under the Biden administration, Operation Allies was basically, let's bring your terrorism here to the United States. That's all it was. That's all it was. So let's go into the story. This man, he was relocated to Washington. So this man was relocated to Washington State, and he was basically, let's see, um, given a home, and I don't know how that whole process went, but yeah, the Biden administration brought him over here. And what he did was he drove, allegedly, from Washington State all the way to the capital, DC, across the country. And I don't know about you, but that's a long ass drive. That really is. And he had this, I'm pretty sure going forward, we're gonna find plans about this because you don't drive almost a 5-day trip from Washington to DC just for a random attack. You just don't do that. I believe it was very much coordinated. And I don't know if it was coordinated in the way of um, only getting two people or more, or if it was set on two individuals, or if it was just two random individuals. But I do believe that it was a coordinated attack, possibly. And it's just tragedy. I mean, Sarah Beckstrom, that's one of the National Guard soldiers. Her name is Sarah Beckstrom. She passed away yesterday, 20 years old. 20. She wasn't even legal to drink. She could not drink legally. Yet she was a very brave soldier, and I believe she's been a soldier since 2019, I believe. No, not 2019, sorry. Since I don't know. Like I think it was only for a couple years, but still, she was a soldier and she passed away at 20. Like that's really sad. And her father, from the little detail that we got from him, was that he was holding his daughter's hand and that he wasn't sure that she was going to make it. Now, I cannot imagine what that father is going through. That is really hard right there. I can't imagine that. And I feel really bad for the father and the mother and just the whole family. I just feel bad for the whole situation, the whole family. And the country is also in mourning too, a little bit, because we don't have attacks like this in the United States. But now it's starting to happen thanks to open borders. Yes, and I don't care if you think that, um, if you call that racist. Everything isn't racist. I'm sorry, but that is a brainwash code to get you to be retarded. That's what it is. And so the two National Guard troops shot in near the White House. I'm reading the story right now, so let's see if there's any details I missed. Let's see. So officials are describing this as a targeted ambush, and the suspect was in custody after suffering gunshot wounds during the incident. U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Janine Pirro, I can never pronounce her name, said he lived in Washington State with his wife and 5 children. Oh, great. What a great example he must lead. That's sarcasm, by the way, to all the retards that don't know. Yeah, that is such a, yeah, what an example, right? The suspect ambushed the Guard members while they were patrolling near the White House on Wednesday afternoon. Armed with a powerful revolver, a .357 Magnum, he shot one member who fell and then shot again before firing multiple times at the second member. The suspect was identified by the Department of Homeland Security as, I cannot pronounce his name, but you can look up this guy's name. It's very Muslim-like. Yeah. It's very disgusting sounding too. It sounds like a wet loogie. He's an Afghan national, according to DHS. He entered the U.S. in 2021 under Operation Allies. What did I tell you? And then, yep, it was a Biden-era program to resettle thousands of Afghans who assisted the U.S. during the Afghanistan war and feared reprisals from Taliban forces who seized control of their homeland after the U.S. withdrew. Late on Wednesday night, the U.S. sorry. Late on Wednesday night, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency announced an immediate and indefinite halt to the processing of all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals, pending a review of security and vetting protocols. The victims were named today as Sarah Beckstrom, she was 20, and Andrew Wolf, 24. Now, I believe Andrew Wolf is in critical condition, but he may survive. I don't know for certain, so don't take my word on that. But he's in very critical condition. He may survive though. But Sarah is no longer with us, unfortunately. So I just wanted to clarify that for you. From the West Virginia National Guard, the CIA said today that the Afghan national worked with U.S. forces during the war in Afghanistan. President Trump called the attack an act of terror in an address last night and said every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden must be re-examined. Now, trying to see the silver lining in all this can be hard sometimes. And when people say, oh, look at the silver lining, they're not saying, oh, look at this event. If this event didn't happen, if this horrible event didn't happen, which is true, and people misconstrued that with, so you are saying that you like that this happened. No, 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 don't get it twisted. No one likes what this man did. But guess what the silver lining is? Re-examinations. Re-examining people, especially from the Middle East, especially from Afghanistan. And I don't know if this is true, but I did read a few different sources where there was 72,000 Afghans in the United States since the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. 72,000. That's nuts. That's nuts. There's not that many people who love the US in Afghanistan. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be one of those people that say, oh, well, there's some people who will support the US. Perhaps. But there's not going to be 72,000 of them from Afghanistan. Not a thing. Not true. There's 72,000 here, but 72,000 of them do not support the US. So keep that in mind when you're going out and walking around. You know what I mean? So the president, in his own words, says, I have directed a full-scale, rigorous re-examination of every green card for every alien from every country of concern. L. So let's see. What else is here? Yeah, that's basically all that we know so far. CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Defense Secretary Pete Hex. He. Sorry, I can't speak right now. CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have confirmed that he worked with U.S. partner forces in Afghanistan, according to FBI Director Kash Patel. So, the Muslim man, what his name sounds like a wet loogie, had no known criminal history, according to the dossier. He had no documented record of traveling in or out of the U.S. since his arrival in 2021, and he had imported a shipment of household goods from Afghanistan in February. Now, what I'm curious about a few things, okay? Let's talk about it. I am curious about the shipments in February. The way it sounds is like he ordered from like Home and Garden, you know? Like household goods. What does that mean? That's a vague statement. What what was coming in those household goods? That's what I want to know. Also, he had no known criminal history in the dossier. Wow, that doesn't make sense either, since none of them are really vetted to come into the United States. So, if they weren't vetted, how do you know he had no criminal history? See, there's something that doesn't make sense here. There's something that just does not make sense here. And I'm very much concerned about what's going on. And people act very confused as to why our government is doing this to us. Mainly Democrats, even though there's a few Republicans who are nasty, but mainly Democrats. Why are they importing so many people here? Well, I'm gonna tell you something. It's our low birth rate, for one. We got a low birth rate. That's part of it. That's not the whole truth, and but that's what I believe. It's our low birth rate, and it's basically, people not dating anymore, and it's just no one's making babies like they used to. So what are you gonna do? Also, they know the American people as a whole is going more red. And so they want to import people who will vote for them. So it's a couple things that are true on this that I believe are true. And it's not right. And honestly, a lot of damage has been done. A lot of damage has been done on this, and we need to wake up as American people, and we slowly are, but we need to do it a little bit quicker because we got Islam threatening the United States of America, my home, and you got communism threatening cities. It's just a big mess that we imported. And you know what? Do you know how we imported them? Because you couldn't do this like 30, 40 years ago outright. You could not do it. American people on both sides would say no to this. You wouldn't be able to get away with any of this. But slowly, Democrats have worked on emotions, especially women. Women are so emotional. Sorry, you are. You are so emotional, and your emotions, your nature of loving, having kids, has been used against you. They weaponized your compassion. Same with men. I hate when men say, "Oh, I've checked out, I've given up," and they're barely in their 20s, you know? I understand why they say that, but at the same time, a true man does not give up. Even if that true man never gets with anyone, has, but even if he never gets with anyone, never has kids, doesn't give up though. Now that's a man worth respecting, right? A man always wanted to be a good man who goes good virtues is always worth the respect, even if they end up alone, unfortunately, because mostly women have been weaponized, and that's the truth. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these um, people being imported. But I think it's starting to backfire on the Democrats because we're American people are realizing who we are as Americans. We are realizing where our rights come from. We are realizing what made this nation so great and so unique in this world. Because the more that Islam shows its ugly, loogie looking head at us, the more we realize we cannot give up liberty, and that liberty is precious. Liberty is not a universal event or right. It's not. It is a unique anomaly in the United States, and we got to keep it that way. All right, everyone. So that concludes today's podcast, and I want to leave you with a special message. Read our Constitution. Read our Bill of Rights. You can read it for free online. You can have these little books shipped to you. You can always read it anywhere. Read it, learn it, understand why the United States is such an anomaly, why we are uniquely blessed, and why we gotta stay that way and keep our freedoms. God bless you all.